All right, you're watching Battle of Champions, and what a performance there by the Indian team. If you thought that 66-run win over Afghanistan was a one-way battle, then wait till you watch what India has done to Scotland, winning that encounter by 8 wickets. And remember, before this game started, there were talks of India needing to reach whatever target that Scotland sets for them in 7.1 overs, because they needed to overhaul that run rate of Afghanistan, which was looking very, very healthy. And remember, India was not in a very good position after having lost those 2 encounters. They've covered up all of that. Firstly, against Afghanistan, as I mentioned, by a 66-run win. And instead of 7.1 overs, they reached their target versus Scotland in 6.3 overs. That's right. That's what you call galloping to a target, and that's what the Indian batsmen have done. First, the job was done by Indian bowlers to ensure that Scotland was restricted for 85 only in their 20 overs. In fact, they did not last their entire 20 overs. 17.4 overs is all that they lasted. After that, the Indian batsmen came out all guns blazing. KL Rahul with a 50 of just 19 deliveries. Rohit Sharma 30 of just 16 deliveries. And then Virat Kohli and Surya Kumar Yadav just did the job, swept the game through, and India winning by 8 wickets. Sunny Gavaskar now joins us to give us live reaction on this particular victory. Sunny, I'm struggling to find one word that best describes this dominating performance. Can you help me?
Mind-boggling. Mind-boggling performance, all by everybody. The way the bowlers bowled, the way the batsmen then recognizing the situation, recognizing the need, the way they played. And there were not no crass shots in that. There were very, very good shots that the batsmen played with the straight bat, the occasional pull shot, but amazing batting and equally amazing bowling.
Right, Saima, I know many might say that, listen, this is Scotland, this is not a major test playing country that India were up against, but no matter what the bowling attack, to reach that target in 6.3 overs, that says something.
It is, and it is, because you see, the first 6 overs, you had the advantage of only 2 fielders outside the circle. And now you can't get all out when you're chasing 86. That is pretty much an impossibility for a strong batting lineup like India. So they did the right thing. They went hell-bent for leather straight away and made sure that the pressure was put on Scotland. And therefore, this win now the Afghanistan-New Zealand game puts pressure on both. Earlier on, it would have probably not been the case if India's net run rate wasn't good. But with India's net run rate now being better than both Afghanistan and New Zealand, the pressure is on both the teams.
Okay, many fans are going to ask you this, Sunny, if they were to meet you, that where was this Indian team before this? And they're talking about those 2 encounters that you saw. Probably, I don't know whether it was the scheduling, maybe the one game in there, a relatively easy encounter, all of this wouldn't have come to this. Where was that Indian team in the first 2 games? And this Indian team that we're seeing right now, there's a sea change there.
Well, don't forget to give credit to both Pakistan and New Zealand. They were outstanding on both those days. So they made sure that a strong Indian team was not able to play to its full potential. The way the Pakistanis bowled at the start, Shami really taking those wickets in the first 6 overs, and then just the way they kept the pressure on the Indians. The Indians managed to get to 150 despite losing those 2 wickets in the 6 overs. So that actually tells you that if they hadn't lost those 2 wickets in the first 6 overs, they could have got another 30-40 runs, and then it might have been a different story. But full credit to Pakistan for the way they batted as well, not losing a single wicket and winning with 13 deliveries to spare. And then New Zealand again bowling well to restrict India to 111. So please give credit to New Zealand and Pakistan that they didn't allow this strong Indian batting lineup to flourish.
Fair point, as you say. New Zealand and Pakistan played rather well in that encounter versus India. I know nobody has a control over the scheduling, but by the luck of draw, had India got slightly relatively easier opponents, maybe to begin with, it would have allowed you to open your lungs, as they say, get warmed up. That could have helped, but you got 2 really tough games to begin with, and from there on, it became really tough going forward in the tournament.
Yes, you could say that, but then, good teams and great teams, it really shouldn't matter who you're playing. If you're a good team, you're going to win against anybody and everybody. So it can't be, please make that as an excuse. Please don't make that as an excuse. I think you've got to give credit to Pakistan and New Zealand for the way they played. Like I said, they didn't allow the Indian team to play to its potential. So rather than pointing a finger at the Indian team, let's give credit to both Pakistan and New Zealand.
Okay, let's now take a look at all the individual performances, and let's start with KL Rahul. 50 in 18 balls. Did he now tell the rest of the world we were building him up as that dangerous batsman that the Indian team has? Because everyone was talking about Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, and a lot of analysts said that, listen, watch out for KL Rahul. He gave glimpses of why he's considered so dangerous in this format.
He has been absolutely terrific in the last couple of IPLs. I mean, look at the rate at which he's been scoring, and he plays authentic cricket shots. There is occasional scoop shot, etc., but generally he plays authentic cricket shots, or the occasional switch it for the reverse sweep. But because he's got all the shots in the book, the normal cricketing shots, he doesn't have to resort to any of these other shots. And the talent was always there. It was a matter of just getting everything clicking together. And that's what happened in this game.
I'm going to look at now Ravindra Jadeja. That one particular over picks up those wickets. Too hot then for the Scottish batsmen to handle. They may not have come across a quality spinner like Jadeja before. And do you think, Sani, it helps that he's not a big turner of the ball, so that slight deviation makes it very tough to play against him?
Exactly, because sometimes they play for the turn and the ball comes with the arm and you can get the batsman out. LBW. So that's his strength. He can get the odd ball to really rip, but not too much, just enough to get past the outside edge. We've seen so many times him doing that in test matches, getting top class batsmen out with just a hint of turn, going past the outside edge and knocking the top of the off stump. And he did it again this time around. And that is one of the reasons why Scotland were just not able to get going. Scotland and teams like Scotland and Namibia, they don't play top-class spin bowling in their domestic cricket. So it is a challenge for them when they're up against a spin attack like India's.
Okay, plenty more to come with Sunny Gavaskar as we discuss India's fantastic victory over Scotland, a win that they got by 8 wickets. But first, let's quickly show you the highlights. Scotland batted first, got 85. That's all that they could manage. And India romped home, as I said, with plenty to spare.
If it were the batsmen against Afghanistan, it was the turn of the bowlers to do the job against Scotland. Jasprit Bumrah drew first blood for India, getting the Scottish captain Kyle Coetzer off a slower one.
Pace off.
George Bunsey played with some fearlessness before Shami had him in the last over of the power play.
So inventive, was looking in good touch.
Jadeja brought into the attack, did not waste time and earned himself 2 wickets in his very first over to leave Scotland tottering at 29 for 4.
It's out.
A nice little partnership had only started developing and Virat once again had to go back to Jadeja, who delivered the goods yet again.
Stern look on Maria Erasmus's face.
Ashwin wasn't to be left behind and the off-spinner also got himself in the wickets column with the dismissal of Chris Greaves.
So it was the slow drip.
Scotland were there on the field, but it were the Indians who were dictating the terms. And it took just 1 over from Shami to bring the procession to an end. That over fetched 3 wickets of the first 3 deliveries, all bowled full into the toes, including a run out of the second ball.
A shout for help.
However, it happened to be Bumrah, the man who started it all, to bring an end to Scotland's innings for just 85.
All out, 85.
India needed to chase down the target in 7.1 overs to go ahead of Afghanistan in the points table on net run rate. And both Rohit and Rahul made their intentions loud and clear. It was raining boundaries in Dubai as India went for the kill to keep their options of making it to the semi-final alive. The victory means that India's net run rate is now better than both Afghanistan and New Zealand, who are ahead on the points table with 6 points. The November 7 match between Afghanistan and New Zealand now becomes even more important for India, as a defeat for the Kiwis would mean that India would know what exactly they need to do the following day against Namibia to make it to the semi-finals. A win for New Zealand, though, will make the match against Namibia redundant for India. Come Sunday, the whole of India would be rooting for an Afghanistan victory. Sports Bureau, India Today.
It was really a free hit. The ball will...
Right, Sunny Gavaskar still with us on the show as we celebrate India's victory over Scotland. Remember, this is India's second victory on the trot after they won against Afghanistan. That was by a huge margin of 66 runs, and this time India has won by 8 wickets. Just a reminder for those of you who are joining us right now, India needed to reach their total in 7.1 odd overs to overhaul the run rate that Afghanistan had notched up, which was looking the best in the group. But if India needed Afghanistan to do them a favor, that is by beating New Zealand, India still had to up their run rate, and that's exactly what they've done right now, reaching that target in 6 odd overs, which means India's run rate right now is the best in the group. So if Afghanistan were to go on and defeat New Zealand and India were to win their last game against Namibia, then it is India that goes through to the semi-finals. Sunny Gavaskar still with us. So I'm just looking at those individual performances. Let's talk about Shami, that outstanding over. It was a hat-trick. In fact, one of that, of course, was a run-out, but the rest of the 2 deliveries that he got, overall, you know, there were a few doubts over Mohammed Shami, his rhythm, how he was coming into it, was expensive in a few games, but now all of that couldn't be put to rest. This was an outstanding performance.
Top class, absolutely top class. Look, he's got one of the best Yorkers in the business, and sometimes I wonder why he resorts to those slower deliveries, because he doesn't have the control over slower deliveries and gets hammered. Yes, against top batsmen, to bowl the Yorker spot on is important, because if you bowl it just a little too full, they can scoop it, use the pace to scoop it for a 6, or even if it's between the knee and the ankle, smash it for a boundary or a 6. Against a lesser batsman, and he was bowling now, these 2 Yorker that we saw were against a lesser batsman, lower order batsman. So there's more of a chance of you getting a wicket. Or also, even if you overpitch just a little bit, you won't be hit for runs. So it's a matter of getting that confidence. The slower delivery, the back of the hand delivery, these are not his deliveries. He gets smashed with that. So he's really got to focus either on the short delivery or on the Yorker for him to be more effective in this form of the game.
Okay, that is something that Mohammed Shami can think, because there will be some few crucial encounters coming up. Sanjay, but firstly, you know, congratulations, because India has won, but you get extra brownie points because you had asked India to play 3 spinners, and that's exactly what they did. Did that also impact on the game as well? I'm just looking at the figures. Varun Chakravarti may not have picked up a wicket, but outstanding in terms of his figures, just gives away 5 runs per over. Ravichandran Ashwin picks up that 1 crucial wicket, and Ravindra Jadeja, we've always spoken about us as far as his performance is concerned in this match. So you think that absolutely nailed the deal for India in this encounter?
Definitely, because look, you've got to take into account the fact that, you know, teams like Scotland, Namibia, Netherlands, they don't get to play top-class spin bowling in their domestic cricket, and therefore they are struggling a little bit when they play against international quality spinners that the Indians have, and therefore that's what happened. And even against Namibia, I do believe that India.
Right, I think we may have lost the audio as well as the visual with Sunny Gavaskar. We'll try and restore that line back sometime. You know, you get that connection on the internet. But we'll take a look at how the Indian team has performed. As I said, for those of you who are just joining us, it was just an outstanding performance. If you had to give Virat Kohli, you know, pen and paper and asked him to jot down how he would like the Indian team to perform, probably this is what he would have written, that, you know, restrict them for below, you know, 90 runs or odd, and then get that total in less than 7 over. So that would have been a dream outcome for Virat Kohli had you asked this before the game. And that's exactly how the game played out as well. Outstanding performance by the bowler. We'll show you the highlights, but before that, let me just quickly sum up the performance from the bowlers itself. You know, Jasprit Bumrah showed what a great champion bowler he is. Right from the word go, he was on the money, picked up 2 wickets, and in economy, just note that economy of Jasprit Bumrah in this encounter, 2.72 in almost the 4 overs that he bowled. Just goes on to tell you how tough it was for the Scottish batsman to play against Jasprit Bumrah. Varun Chakravarti was brought back into this playing 11, bowled his 3 overs, gave away just 15 runs. Economy, that is again outstanding, of 5. Ravichandran Ashwin's economy may have been 7.25, but picked up a crucial wicket. Mohammed Shami, as I was talking to Mr. Gavaskar a short while ago, you know, there were few doubts over his form in the games leading up to this particular encounter. He's put all of that to rest with this performance. Picks up 3 wickets, so, you know, he's the highest wicket taker, joint with Ravindra Jadeja. in the 3 overs that he bowled and just gave away 15 runs at an economy of 5. And then you had Ravindra Jadeja, the standout performer as far as the ball is concerned. Again, 15 runs. Takes 3 wickets in his 4 overs, economy of 3.75. Okay, let's now quickly show you the points table and tell you how this game has impacted this entire Group 2. Remember, India weren't in a great position after those 2 losses. The run rate was abysmal. Of course, there was nothing to show as far as the points were concerned. They were at nil. Take a look at that points table now. Just see how India has moved up gradually. From second last, they moved to third last and have now moved into the 3rd position after Pakistan and New Zealand. Pakistan through to the semi-final, the first team to make it through to the semi-final with 6 points. They are there. Whether they finish on top of the group or second, we wouldn't know for now because New Zealand still has a game. New Zealand did their job today, did well against Namibia, got that win that they needed, a good one at that. So they've got 6 points and have a net run rate of 1.377. So they've done themselves really well in this encounter. But then that is where India is at the moment. Remember, India were in the negative run rate. They improved that in that game against Afghanistan, got it into positive 0.7, but had to go over Afghanistan and they needed to do that in 7.1 odd overs. They did it in 6 point something. So India has now exceeded expectations, have gone ahead of Afghanistan. Let's quickly show you the highlights. I've been talking about the figures, but these are the visuals to complement those figures that we just spoke about.
If it were the batsmen against Afghanistan, it was the turn of the bowlers to do the job against Scotland. Jasprit Bumrah drew first blood for India, getting the Scottish captain Kyle Coetzer off a slower one.
Pace off. And it's
George Bunsey played with some fearlessness before Shami had him in the last over of the power play.
so inventive. Was looking in good touch.
Jadeja, brought into the attack, did not waste time and earned himself 2 wickets in his very first over to leave Scotland tottering at 29 for 4.
It's out.
A nice little partnership had only started developing and Virat once again had to go back to Jadeja, who delivered the goods yet again.
Stern look on Mohammed Rasmus's face.
Ashwin wasn't to be left behind and the off-spinner also got himself in the wickets column with the dismissal of Chris Greaves.
So it was the slow drip.
Scotland were there on the field, but it were the Indians who were dictating the terms. And it took just 1 over from Shami to bring the procession to an end. That over fetched 3 wickets of the first 3 deliveries, all bowled full into the toes, including a run out of the second ball.
A shout for help.
However, it happened to be Bumrah, the man who started it all, to bring an end to Scotland's innings for just 85.
All out. 85.
India needed to chase down the target in 7.1 overs to go ahead of Afghanistan in the points table on net run rate. And both Rohit and Rahul made their intentions loud and clear. It was raining boundaries in Dubai as India went for the kill to keep their options of making it to the semi-final alive. The victory means that India's net run rate is now better than both Afghanistan and New Zealand, who are ahead on the points table with 6 points. The November 7 match between Afghanistan and New Zealand now becomes even more important for India, as a defeat for the Kiwis would mean that India would know what exactly they need to do the following day against Namibia to make it to the semi-finals. A win for New Zealand, though, will make the match against Namibia redundant for India. Come Sunday, the whole of India would be rooting for an Afghanistan victory. Sports Bureau, India Today.
It was really a free hit. The ball will...
Right, imagine winning a game in just 6.3 overs, and that's what the Indian team has done, because plenty of talk about the run rate, because if India have to make the semi-final, they have to better the run rate of Afghanistan as well as New Zealand. They've done all of that. They are now at 1.619 in the positive. That's better, as I said, than Afghanistan as well as New Zealand. Now, Indian fans would be glued in to the next encounter when Afghanistan take on New Zealand, and they'd be hoping that Afghanistan end up winning that game. But having said that, they'd hope Afghanistan wins that game by a narrow margin, or even if they were to win by a decent margin, India still, remember, have Namibia to play in their last encounter. So their destiny would be in their hand if Afghanistan were to do a favor to the Indian team by beating New Zealand, because if India were to adjust their run rate, improve the run rate when it comes to head-to-head versus Afghanistan, they could do that with a I wouldn't say weaker, but with an associate nation like Namibia that haven't played at this platform before that and don't have the players really in terms of man-to-man to match the Indian team. Of course, upsets can happen, but if Indian team were to really dominate a team, you'd hope that they'd play their last game against Namibia, and that's exactly what's going to happen for the Indian team, and by which time New Zealand would have finished their game with Afghanistan. So if Afghanistan had beaten New Zealand, India would know exactly what they need to do. But today was the day of Indian bowlers. Outstanding performance from Jasprit Bumrah, from Mohammed, Shami, from Ravindra Jadeja, outstanding with the ball, and then the batsmen stepped up, KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma. KL Rahul getting his half century in merely 18 balls. So everything now gelling for the Indian team after that Afghanistan win and after those two losses that they got. And I don't think there could have been a better birthday gift for their captain. Remember, Virat Kohli was celebrating his 33rd birthday, and the best gift that his teammates could have given him was this thumping victory over Scotland, and that's exactly what they've done. That's all that we have as far as the cricket updates are concerned. And coming up next is India First.